With its origins stemming back to the earliest days of Mars, the Adeptus Mechanicus Onager Dunecrawler has become one of the mainstay battle tanks in an Adeptus Mechanicus army and has been perfected into a weapon of war. Today, we're talking about this model on Let's Talk Tactics.
Anvil of War! Let's talk tactics!
Hey guys, and welcome back to Anvil of War Gaming. We hope you're enjoying our content, and on that note, if you are, please consider hitting the subscribe button and supporting the channel. It's the little icon located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen in the video, and we'll put it on the screen at the end of the video as well, just so you don't miss it. So without further ado, let's get into the Adeptus Mechanicus Onager Dunecrawler. So I have to say, I absolutely love this model. The aesthetics of it, when it first was released, it was just awesome. It was one with the first wave of Adeptus Mechanicus models that was released, and you can just see this thing marching across the crust of Mars, Mars's surface, and just hailing fire downfield at the Adeptus Mechanicus or the Omnissiah's enemies. So. Love it. Let's talk about it on the tabletop, shall we? So, it's got a movement of 8 inches, a weapon skill of 5+, a ballistic skill of 3+, a strength of 6, a toughness of 7. It has 11 wounds base, an attacks of 3, leadership 8, and a save of 3+. Now, it does have degrading statistics, so the 6 to 11 bracket is when it's got its 8 inches, 3+ ballistic skill, and 3 attacks. It goes down to 6 inches, 4+, and D3 attacks for the 3 to 5 bracket. And the 1 to 2 bracket goes to 4 inches. It goes to a 5+ ballistic skill and a single attack. Obviously, when this thing is it's near its end, it's not performing too well, but there's ways to perfect this and remedy this and keep this thing chugging out some shots on the tabletop. So, as far as equipment options are concerned, it comes standard with the Eradication Beamer, which is a 36-inch range, heavy D6, strength 8, AP -2, damage D3 weapon. That within 12 inches, it drops to a heavy D3, AP -4, and damage D6 weapon. A little weird. I'm really interested to see if somebody has got a lot of success with running this as a standard eradication array. I've got to say, or eradication beamer, it's not one of my my go-tos, and I don't think I've actually ever used it in game. Just because in every edition that I've played Adeptus Mechanicus, it's never really been the go-to. So speaking of go-tos, let's get into what I would consider its go-tos. The neutron laser. This option obviously replaces the eradication beamer, and it's a 48-inch, strength 10, AP -4, D6 damage, and damage rolls go. They can't go below 3. So if you roll a 1 or a 2, it's automatically bumped up to a 3, which is fantastic. I mean, it keeps this thing really chugging. It also is a blast weapon, so that has to be factored in. That makes it great. And yeah, it's just a great weapon. It's a super strong anti-tank weapon. With this thing's mobility, I mean, throw this thing around the tabletop and just pick out those key targets and pump some shots in. It's got high ballistic skill of 3+ to start, and there's ways of making that almost foolproof with some additional rules. So this thing is definitely a workhorse on the tabletop, and it's I would say tied for the top spot as far as this thing's main armaments. So, moving on from there, you also have the heavy twin heavy phosphor blaster. Now, this thing is 36 inches, heavy 6, strength 6, AP -2, damage 1, with no cover saves allowed against it. Definitely don't take this. It just doesn't make sense why you would take this over some of the other options on this model. Again, if I'm wrong here and I'm missing something, guys, please let me know, but I don't see this thing as a viable option when you can take so much better options. So Yeah, again, that would replace its eradication beamer. Another option to replace the main armament is the Icarus Array. Now, if you have a pesky Eldar flyer problem, or you're playing against anything with a lot of models with the fly keyword, this thing is awesome, and it is going to make its points back guaranteed every game, in my opinion. The Icarus Array has 3 separate weapon profiles, all of which can fire when this thing fires, which is amazing. The 3 different profiles are the Daedalus Missile Launcher, which is Heavy 1, Strength 7, AP -3, and does D6 damage flat. The Gatling Rocket Launcher, which is Heavy 5, Strength 6, AP -2, and damage 1. Pretty solid. Again, it's just it's a lot of little tiny missiles firing out. Twin Icarus autocannon on this thing, which is Heavy 4, Strength 7, AP -1, and it's damage 2, as most autocannons are. Pretty awesome. Hopefully we see some, maybe we're going to see some changes coming out with the new edition. Maybe we're going to see some stuff go up, maybe stuff go down, who knows. All in all, though, this thing does gain, all of these weapon profiles do gain +1 to their rolls if they're shooting against a target with fly, but it gets a -1 to its rolls if it's shooting at something that doesn't have fly. So clearly this thing is meant to be firing at flying targets. Really good against airplanes, really good against anything, jump infantry, stuff like that. Anything that has a fly keyword. I mean, think about this thing, including this thing in your army, because most armies are going to have at least one thing in them, in their list with fly. So yeah, why not? Additional equipment this thing can take. I mean, you're going to be able to take the Cognis Heavy Stubber. I should also quickly mention that the neutron laser comes with a Cognis Heavy Stubber attached to it when you take that option. So you can take 2 Cognis Heavy Stubbers, which is another reason why I think the neutron laser is probably one of the best options. You can take an additional Heavy Stubber, so now you're up to 2 with the neutron laser, or 1 with any of the other options. It's worth the points. It's a 36-inch range weapon, Heavy 3, Strength 4, AP 0, Damage 1. It can fire if it advances, but it's at a -2 if it does. And in the new edition, that means you're at a -1, unless there's other modifiers giving you pluses, in which case it negates it, that first one. So yeah, still pretty cool. Hitting on 4+ if this thing is advancing, it's worthwhile. Yeah. As far as other options, I mean, it can take the data tether, or it can take smoke launchers. Now, that's totally situational. Smoke launchers, you're forfeiting a round of shooting, so probably never take this. Data tether can help with some stratagems that we'll talk about in a bit, but really up to you which one you prefer. Now, getting into this thing's special rules. It does have the Canticles of the Omnissiah special rule, which means it benefits from Canticles, obviously. It has the Amanitas Force Field special rule, which is cool. It gives it a 5+ invulnerable save. It also gives it reroll 1s to its invuln saves when it's within 6 inches of another Dunecrawler. Obviously, taking these things in pairs is heavily promoted with this rule. Getting to reroll those 1s with a 5+, it's kind of like having a 4+ invuln save, sort of. And yeah, it can be really good against when you're taking heavy fire with high AP weapons. Keeps these things ticking a little bit longer. It has the crawler. It had the crawler rule. The crawler rule essentially gave it the ability to move and fire heavy weapons without penalty, but now that is an innate ability in 9th edition with all vehicles, so don't have to worry about this anymore. But what it did do when they actually cut that rule out, and I don't know if GW realized this and they're going to fix this later on, but this thing was only allowed to advance D3 inches because of that rule. Now it can advance D6 inches, and some of its weapons can fire when it advances, the stubbers. with a -2 penalty, but still, again, that's only a -1 really. And yeah, anyways, you can see where this starts to get a little weird. So, I mean, are you going to advance this thing? Not very often. If it's to grab an objective late game, maybe you will. And now you don't have to worry about doing D3 inches. Now you can go D6. So pretty cool. It does have the explodes. It's on 0 wounds. You roll a dice on a 6. It explodes. D3 mortal wounds within 6 inches of it. Pretty cool. I mean, any vehicle that explodes when you do roll that, it's pretty awesome. It feels good when you kill enemy models. Not so good when you kill your own with it, but whatever. Now we're getting into, now that we've got through the main kind of data sheet of this model, we can start getting into some of the combinations and combos and character synergies and such that make this thing great. So as far as Forge Worlds are concerned, really the two main ones are going to be Mars and Styges. The ability to for Mars to be able to roll 2 canticles almost ensures that you're going to get the canticle of reroll 1s to hit, which is fantastic. Styges essentially gives you a -1 to hit if they're over. Your model's a -1 to hit for the enemy if they're over 12 inches away, so that can be pretty good. Can see people using that quite a bit. The Mars, again, is the winner for me, and it always has been, just because 2 canticles are better than 1, especially with the Psychic Awakening new canticles that you can take. The ability to have your Mars models, heavy weapons, get that much better is fantastic. So when you're rolling 2, especially if you have like Belisarius in your army and you're giving the ability to alter those rolls and guarantee you're getting what you want to get, reroll 1s if you're not in a Dominus's aura, pretty self-explanatory. I don't really have to get too much into that as to why that's a good thing. This is a shooting model and it should be shooting, and anything that helps it shooting is going to be bonus. As far as canticles are concerned, the 2 that really stand out for it are obviously the reroll 1s and then the Shroud Psalm, giving it the ability to have better have cover save when it's not in cover is also a big deal. So going into stratagems for this thing, there's some situational stratagems in the base rule book. There's nothing that really benefited this at all in the Psychic Awakening stratagems, but Cognis Overwatch, 1 command point. You can turn its Cognis weapons, allow them to hit at full ballistic skill. So now your 2 Cognis stubbers are chucking out 6 attacks if you have the neutron laser, and you're doing it at full ballistic skill. With the fact that you have to A, use a stratagem, B, only 1 unit is going to be able to Overwatch, I don't really see this as being the one that you're going to want to choose, unless it later editions of the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex turn this into something that actually gives you the ability to Overwatch because of this stratagem, an additional Overwatch or something, then yeah, that would be awesome. But Protector Doctrine Imperative, 1 command point, +1 to hit, or 2 if it has a data tether, which, I mean, it has the option of taking. So you can give this thing the ability to negate negatives against flying targets. The data tether pairs really well with the Icarus array, just because you're able to negate that negative, and then you're able to get some additional boosts to your ballistic skill. So if you get like an Eldar flyer that's all of a sudden stacking like -3 to hit, which is technically only a -1, but you guys can go back and forth until eventually you're hitting this thing at full ballistic skill, which is cool. I mean, that's going to scare a lot of flyers. They're not going to waste the command points and make you waste the command points. So it's just going to be like, okay, hit me at full ballistic skill. Do whatever you want. Yeah, pretty cool. The Benevolence of the Omnissiah, 1 command point. It means a vehicle can ignore mortal wounds on a 5+. So if somebody's trying to take down your Dunecrawler with more wounds, you can now give it a 5+ ignore to those mortal wounds, which is sweet. It's 1 command point, totally worth it. Rage of the Machines, 1 command point, ignore, advance, and fire Cognis weapons. Again, really situational. I don't know that you would actually spend a command point on doing this, but maybe you would. Maybe you're crazy, and good for you if you are. Wrath of Mars, 2 command points. If you're Mars, obviously, and that's going to stack really well with something like the Icarus, where you want to do damage on top of the damage this thing can already do. You can, on a 6 to wound, 6+ to wound, you are going to be doing a mortal wound in addition to other damage. Fantastic. So as far as some synergies, character synergies, and things that really benefit this model on the tabletop, I mean, taking an engine seer, throwing them with, if you're taking, especially if you're taking 2 and having an engine seer plopped in the middle, I mean, it's a cheap HQ option, so it's good for list building reasons. And just having him babysit them, the ability to double repair is a huge thing if you're using that stratagem. So you can really quickly bump this thing from bottom bracket to top bracket with just a couple of good rolls, and just have this thing keep pumping out the punishment, which is awesome. Another option that you might want to consider, I mean, a Dominus with the reroll 1 aura can be really great if you're not running Mars and you're not really relying on those canticles. If Belisarius is nearby and he's giving them the reroll everything aura or all misses, that's really strong as well. You can see where all the characters are going to really kind of help with their auras. The Manipulus, the ability to extend their range, can be really good. I mean, most of their weapons, 48 inches, 36-inch range, with the new tabletop size in 9th edition is not really going to, it's not really going to necessarily benefit these models. Their ability to move and then shoot without penalty. They have a decent movement at the starting bracket of 8 inches. So, I mean, you're adding that to the 36-inch and 48-inch ranges respectively. I don't think you're going to really need to babysit these guys that much, which makes them a great model. If you have 2 of them on the tabletop and you have an engine seer that is, advancing up the table with them and babysitting them, that's all they really need. And that means that you can really worry about your really strong auras being situated with something else, and these things are a threat on their own, which makes them great. As far as other combinations, Warlord Traits, I mean, the new Warlord Traits in Engine War are fantastic. The Psychic Awakening have opened up all kinds of awesome combos for multiple armies, and you're slowly starting to see how they're going to start picking the good stratagems, and hopefully we see those translate into the new codexes as they're released. So I'm really excited to see what they do and what they keep, what they get rid of, and kind of, I hope that they retain the stratagems that are specific to specific units, because those are great. And hopefully we get one that is more kind of specific to the Dunecrawlers. That being said, the new Warlord Traits, I mean, the ability to pick one of the auras that's kind of in effect for that turn. The one that really stands out to me is the ability to have the exploding hits on 6s. So I mean, if you're taking an Icarus array and you have exploding 6s on that, it can get pretty gross. Or even pumping out a few neutron laser shots and getting 1 free shot could be pretty awesome. So. And you can take one of those. I mean, you can spend a command point and give another character a Warlord Trait and give one of those to your engine seer or something, right? So that's babysitting them. So that's a win. The Canticles, I mean, being able to sub out the Canticles, obviously the Mars one is huge. Being able to give them bonuses to their heavy weapons and not really worrying about that anymore. That can be really good. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where these guys fall into their niche, is that they're really good in a gunline army, but they could be a great addition to a sort of really well-balanced AdMech army where they're running up the tabletop. In comparison to the Scorpius, this is where it really gets into it, because again, as I mentioned, a lot of people were having a lot of success with the Scorpius because of the ability to ignore line of sight, and it has all of its pluses. This thing actually comes in a little bit cheaper. It's going to save you about 15 points, I think. Currently, as we stand when this video was shot, 15 points, give or take. depending on weapons options, but the difference in the model. But this thing's going to have that invuln save. It's going to have all of the special rules that come with it, and it's more of a dedicated tank. Yes, it can't shoot out of line of sight, but it is a million times more efficient at taking out enemy flyers. I think it is the winner of the two, in my opinion. I think people should really dust these guys off and throw them back into their games. And I mean, you can take both, so why not? As far as list building is concerned, when you're building your list right now, currently the way it stands is if you want to take a spearhead detachment, you're going to be sacrificing command points to do so. So you have to really think about those 3 heavy slots and what you're going to be putting in it. And with such great heavy options for the Adeptus Mechanicus, you have to figure out, is this thing worth it or not? I would really love to see in the 9th edition Adeptus Mechanicus Codex these things be squadroned. I would love to see the ability to take 3 of them. It fits really well with their force field special rule and the fact that you want to be taking these things and keeping them close together. I think a squadron of 3 of these for 1 slot would be more than fair. I don't think it's super overpowered, and we had it in previous editions, so why not bring that back? Yeah, because I mean, you want to see a mechanized Adeptus Mechanicus list. I want to see it on the tabletop. I want flyers. I want my Dunecrawlers. I want the hovercrafts running around, Scorpius just doing their thing. And I think it would be really cool to see that on the tabletop. I think people would really appreciate playing against that and maybe getting away from the Castellan robots, although that's going to be hard for me to do personally because I just love them. And if you're an Adeptus Mechanicus player, you probably do too. So yeah, all in all, wicked model, love it, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, if I missed anything, if you think that there's a combo that could really work, or you have tried and it has really worked, share it in the comments, please. Let everybody know, and let's share this information and knowledge with the community. Thanks again for watching, guys. Take care.
Sponsored by...
Praise be to the Omnissiah, and praise be to hitting that subscribe button. Thanks, guys. Okay, Mechanicuses? I don't think there's a plural there, just Adeptus Mechanicuses. If you're enjoying our content, please click the subscribe channel. Subscribe.